Welcome to the Becoming a Streamer podcast by Pipeline, where we dive deeper into how streamers became who they are today and learn more about their journey. I'm your host, co-founder of Pipeline, Stone Mountain 64, and today we are joined by SypherPK, one of the most viral creators on the Fortnite scene now with his infamous Trap Tower plays, but that's not where he started, and it's not the end of his journey. He is an inspiration and extremely wise on his decision making and when and where to invest in himself, his community, and his content. He's a full-time streamer, over 150 hours a month now over on Twitch, where he has an audience of over 2.8 million followers, YouTube over 2.5 mil subs, Instagram as well. This dude is legendary. On all the platforms, you can find him at SypherPK. That's SypherPK. Can't recommend you to check him out enough. And I really hope you're as blown away with this conversation as I was. Enjoy. Cool, man. Sypher, thank you so much for joining in. I saw you tweeting about maybe wanting to start a podcast or something. So I was like, you know what? I got to see if I can have him on. And man, I'm stoked to have you on.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I've just recently had this idea of like wanting to start my own podcast and just talk about certain things. A lot of the live streaming that we do kind of has a podcast element to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been interested in getting into the podcast scene for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, that's what, there's so much talking when you're streaming that it definitely, like, there's some overlap there, so it's awesome. But yeah, before we get too deep in everything, like, you know, if somebody's gonna look up SypherPK now, like, where are you at? Where are you creating content? What do they find?
So SypherPK now is Twitch live streaming, YouTube content creation, and you know, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. Everything is SypherPK. And just recently I started uploading TikTok videos for fun. So
how's that been going? There's some people that are on board and like going full for it, and then like, are you doing some original stuff?
I was initially very hesitant.
Yeah.
Just because every time I like thought of TikTok, I just thought of like the cringy TikTok, you know, videos and like the dancing videos. And I'm just like, this doesn't seem like it's my cup of tea. But as I started, you know, scrolling through TikTok, eventually like the humor and the content that I was seeing was content that I was liking. So it's like, oh, it adjusted itself to me. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to upload a couple stuff, and I've only uploaded 2 clips, and they both like kind of blew up. You know, I don't know how the numbers work or anything, but
sure,
their algorithm is insane. So it's been fun. It's more just like a fun little side project, and like, you know, uploading funny skits and whatnot that I just think of throughout the week.
Yeah. I mean, the main thing, like, you know, going to your page, going to your streams and everything, you're on that Fortnite grind, right?
Yeah.
Like, is that the main game that you're playing? Like, are you trying other things too with your content, or are you just solely on that?
So for gaming, it's really has just been Fortnite for a while, ever since it came out. As far as, you know, past gaming, you know, this year, my focus is, you know, trying to do more than just Fortnite. But not necessarily just more than Fortnite, but more than just gaming, which is why I was thinking about the podcast, and why I was thinking about making a YouTube channel for my dogs, and, you know, getting into the dog scene on YouTube, and just also the TikTok stuff. Like, it's not just Fortnite related posts. Like, I'm trying to like put a little bit more like general humor and my personal taste on it, to try to like kind of expand the brand and put my face out there more than just Fortnite. But yeah, I'm looking forward to like more games. Fortnite has kind of captivated me for a little bit, but there's a few games that I'm kind of eyeing up and hoping to have like successful launches for me to get on.
Yeah, I mean, I look back at your, I was looking at your YouTube channel, and I mean, you've been doing this for years, man. I mean, when did you start? I guess, I mean, you started when you were pretty young, even creating content, right? Like, what were you doing before you created content?
Well, okay, so I started creating content in middle school. And it started because there was a history project, and one of the options, like on the little like pamphlet that was given to us, it's like you can make a poster for your history project, or you can make a video. And at that point, I had never made a video before, but it was like an interesting idea for me to like make a video for my history fair project instead of making a poster like everybody else did.
Sure.
So I downloaded this free like editing software. I forgot the name of it. It wasn't Windows Movie Maker, but it was like one step above. And I just started editing this like history project, and like I was recording with like my crappy laptop built-in microphone and like lining it up and downloading images from Google, and just I made my project, and I did well, but I had a good time editing that video. And then right after that, I took my love of gaming. At the time, I was playing RuneScape, and I started recording RuneScape videos and editing them. And then I eventually made the RuneScape or the YouTube channel in 2011.
Yeah, that's what I saw. I mean, you just got tons of RuneScape videos up as like where you started with all this. And did you see other people uploading RuneScape content, or were you just playing a bunch of the game and was like, oh, I got some great clips, like I want to post, like now I got the editing software, I kind of figuring this stuff out. Is that what got you more into it?
Well, I was already watching some RuneScape YouTubers, SparkMac, Chris Archie, you know, So Solid 2K, a lot of the OG RuneScape YouTubers, and I looked up to them, and they were pretty inspiring in terms of me wanting to take on this, like, well, at the time it wasn't a career choice, it was just more of like a hobby that I wanted to do. I didn't even really know that you could make money from streaming or doing YouTube, so but I was definitely into it, and I definitely wanted to get my name out there and like become like a popular RuneScape YouTuber.
Yeah, because I mean, you didn't just upload one video; you kept on uploading it.
Yeah.
Was that like a plan or like a strategy you were going out with it? Were you just like trying to figure out what would work in terms of content on the game?
We were trying. It initially started off with me and my two younger brothers, and it was like a trio thing. And we were trying to get like a video up every week if we could. I had to beg my brothers to record. They were not into the whole, like, they wanted to play all the time, but like they were not into the whole, like, you know, creating content and doing YouTube or streaming. So I had to beg them, and eventually got to a point where I was like, guys, I'm just going to do this by myself. And that was like the end of the RuneScape era for me. That's when I started playing Elder Scrolls Online, when I really went solo and made it into an actual career.
Yeah, and I mean, you're uploading a bunch of videos on Elder Scrolls at that time too, and I think you were in college around that time too, and you decided to go full time, right? Like,
yeah,
what was going through your mind as you're, you know, in school and making that decision?
It was actually a really tough time in my life and in my content creation, because I was, at this point, you know, I had been uploading videos for years in middle school and high school. And, you know, I was getting towards my senior year, and I was like, I really want to do this. Like at that point, I was like very well versed with, you know, how I could potentially make this into a career. And I was getting like, you know, $30 checks from YouTube every month. Like, you know, here's your AdSense for the few thousand views you got. And I was just like, you know, like I can do more. Like I can really pop off. I just got to do it right. You know, the first summer after I graduated, I started streaming every single day. I was streaming Elder Scrolls Online. Prior to that, I only streamed a couple times on RuneScape. But I had like 2,000 followers on Twitch, and I was like, okay, I'm going to stream every day and try to, you know, by the end of the summer, make this into something more. That summer passed, and, you know, I started getting 100 average viewers. I still wasn't partnered. You know, back then you had to have like 500 average viewers to get partnered on Twitch. So it was a bit more challenging. So I did go to school for that first semester, and the second summer rolls around, and I'm like, okay, this time, you know, I've got a good base, 100 average viewers. I've been streaming throughout, you know, the semester. Like I would come back from school, stream a few hours, and I'm like, this summer I'm going to go hard. I'm going to get my Twitch partnership. I'm going to get enough subscriptions and support to do this for a living. And I'm going to drop out of school and like go for a year and try to really make it something. My parents said, okay, if you can pull that off, we'll support you. I did. I streamed every single day. By the end of the summer, I was partnered. By the end of the summer, I had, you know, 400, 500 paying subscribers. This is before Twitch Prime. So it's like people had to pull out their credit card, and they were consistent. And they didn't drop off as much because it was month to month.
Right.
But my parents were just not with it at all. At this point, I'm 18, about to turn 19. And I'm like, I really want to do this. Like, I feel like I only have one shot at this. And if I, you know, focus too much on school, I won't be able to stream the way I want to or upload content. My parents were just not with it. They wanted me to quit streaming. They wanted me just to focus on school. And I, one day just packed my computers, packed my clothes, and just left the house and booked a hotel for a week. And like, I pretty much ran away, but like, technically I was an adult. I just left. And, it was, like I planned it all. Like the night before, I packed my computers just to not be suspicious, put them in a box, put all my clothes in a big trash bag. Cause I didn't have like a bag and a proper bag. And then like I parked my car out in the front, and then just like, while my mom was home, I just started like running, making laps from the car to my room and just grabbing stuff and throwing it in there. And I left, and I booked a hotel for a week so that I can, during that week find an apartment, because I was just fed up at that point. It was obviously like not the most like well thought out plan, but I just knew that I had to get out and pursue this passion of mine.
Wow. And I mean, when you started even streaming, because I mean, to get to 400, 500 subscribers on that is insane. But like, as you're going through this, because I mean, you must have been putting in time to even stream and to make videos and to do all these things. Like, was that something that was, so I mean, like, did your brothers support it? Did any of your friends support it? Or like, what was that like? Like, obviously your parents weren't really supportive of it, but what was that like for you?
My brothers thought it was really cool. They were definitely supporting of me pursuing content creation.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever like the conversation really like, whenever my parents and I argued over it, they kind of sided with my parents just because they kind of had to in a way. They were a little stuck. They couldn't really be on the other side with me. So, but they were supporting, some of my friends were pretty supportive. But at the end of the day, it's like, people can support, but at the end of the day, I had to make that decision and live with the consequences of just leaving and trying to like go independent and do this on my own. And I was ready to make that decision. And I actually streamed from that hotel, and I told my viewers, I'm like, hey guys, it's going to be like a couple rough days. I'm trying to find a place. They're not, these apartments weren't accepting me because my payment was all through PayPal, and they didn't know what PayPal was. Like, we need a bank statement. I'm like, I just recently made a bank account, but I don't have enough statements. I had a realtor help me out. And until today, that realtor subscribed to my Twitch channel.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
He still tunes in, and he like found somebody who knew somebody, and he's like, this guy's legit. He's a gamer. He uses PayPal. Do you know what PayPal is? Just give him a shot, and he won't miss rent. And I got in a little apartment and got my stuff set up, and I went right back into the streaming and content creation.
Yeah. And I mean, what was your schedule like when you just went full into it? Because in the video, at least when you had announced it, you said, I'm going to do 5 videos a week on top of the streams. And like, how did you keep up with that? And like, what was that schedule like for you?
So prior to the move, it was like, 4 or 5 streams a week and maybe 1 video per week, because I was doing school. So I wasn't able to really go all in. And then once I moved, it was just like, I had nothing in my apartment besides a small like air mattress, and my setup was in the living room, and that was it. And I had 1 couch that I bought. So like all I could do, or all I had, was this computer to make content with. And I was like streaming. The streaming hours were not too long back then. I was really just going 4 hours, like maximum. Like that was like a full stream for me. But I was like streaming it almost every day, but like 4 hours. And then, I would kind of edit. I would spend like a couple hours editing a YouTube video and then posting that video. And I would do about 5 uploads a week on Elder Scrolls Online. And Elder Scrolls Online was a strange choice, because when I started streaming it the year before, there was nobody streaming the game on Twitch. It had like 10 viewers was like number 1 in the directory. So it was a little, thinking back, it was like really risky for me to even like pursue streaming on that game, because there wasn't really a streaming community for that game at the time. But we somehow just kind of like went at it for a little bit, and eventually like enough of the people who were watching like my Elder Scrolls YouTube content started kind of transferring over. And like the 10-20 viewers turned into 50, turned to 100, turned into 300. And, at its peak, we were getting anywhere from 500 to 1,000 viewers on Elder Scrolls Online. But when I wasn't streaming, like there wasn't anybody watching the game really, besides like maybe a couple hundred.
So that, I mean, is that you just like seeing this opportunity of like, hey, nobody else is really doing this, and I'm going to create the community around this? Or was it just like, you really like the game? Like, because that is really like, to see that small of a category that you're essentially building up yourself.
No, and I don't say that in like a arrogant way. Like we really did build up that community from the ground up. There wasn't anyone watching. It's not, MMOs are hard to stream in general.
Sure.
So to find the right content, which was the PvP content that I was well known for, and then kind of create a community around that, it took time. It was a process. But it was just because I loved the game.
Yeah.
It was really just, I was so in love with the game. I was also so good at the game. I was really good at PvP. I had a lot of the top builds, and I was good at like theory crafting and testing different setups, and then posting those videos. And then everybody who wasn't good at PvP was like, okay, let's try this setup up. And like, I would help people get better at PvP. And that's kind of what sparked the educational side of me, which, you know, led into Elder Scrolls, and then eventually For Honor, and then now Fortnite. Like, a lot of people are educated by my content.
Yeah.
When it comes to,
I know you do an educational series and everything, but like when you're going through that from ESO, like you're building an audience around that, you're building it around yourself too as you're doing that. How did that kind of navigate to For Honor and like some of the other directions that you've gone with this, ultimately leading to Fortnite?
So Elder Scrolls was my bread and butter. I was always streaming that, and every time I tried to play a different game, like I tried to get into Overwatch, and I was good at Overwatch, but I didn't stream it enough because every time I streamed it, my viewership would drop. And that was like the first time I kind of experienced the viewership drop of switching games. And it kind of frightened me a little bit, because now I was like, okay, this game, you know, if this game goes downhill or I stop enjoying it, I'm kind of stuck. And every time I try to play, you know, Overwatch or H1Z1 or PUBG, viewership would tank by 80%. The chat would slow down, and I would just be like, wait, like, you know, I can't grow like this. I'm nervous. So I just go back to Elder Scrolls, and then I don't pursue Overwatch, and I don't pursue H1Z1. And thinking back, I kind of regret not having just stuck with it. It is a bit of a risk, but at that point, like, you know, everything that I was doing, you know, streaming is a risk, and I took bigger risks, but I was just afraid of losing what I had. Then For Honor came out, and a couple of my streaming friends were playing it, and For Honor, fortunately for me, For Honor was close enough to Elder Scrolls in terms of like combat feel and aesthetics, because it was like a medieval fighting game, and Elder Scrolls was in a medieval fantasy. So that transfer, I only lost like 50% of my audience initially. So I was actually keeping a lot more viewers than the other games that I was playing, the shooters and the battle royale. So I was like, okay, like I like this game, it's cool. I'm not losing as many viewers, so let me just try it out. And I was starting to mix it in with Elder Scrolls pretty well. Eventually got pretty good at For Honor, and then eventually my For Honor viewership surpassed my Elder Scrolls viewership. Wow. So for a few months, probably like 4 or 5 or 6 months, I was really only playing For Honor, and then every once in a while I'd hop back on ESO just for nostalgia's sake.
Yeah. And then
eventually, though, For Honor slowed down like tremendously, and then Elder Scrolls was my dominant game again, and I was back to square one, and I was like pretty frustrated. I was like, man, I was really hoping that For Honor would allow me to kind of break into a new scene and then just kind of be more stabilized. And then now I'm back on Elder Scrolls as my main game and my main community. So when Fortnite came out and I started playing it, and I really liked the game, but of course, you know, my 400, 500 viewers would quickly go down to 80, 70 when I was playing Fortnite.
Yeah, that's quite a different one.
Yeah. This time I was just like, no, I like this game. I see potential. It's growing. I'm just going to stick with it. Like, I'm going to take this risk and stick with it.
But you kept some of the guys do you think some of the guys even from For Honor came back and were watching some of the ESO content and kind of discovered it from that too?
There's always people who stay around for the streamer. It's just like every streamer wants to think that, you know, their core audience is bigger than it actually is. But there are people, every streamer has people who will watch anything that streamer produces, because they just like the streamer, they like the personality, they like the vibe that they give off. It's just I think every streamer's, and especially for me, my goal is to try to get that base audience that's willing to watch anything and just grow it as much as I can through community events, just through interacting with the chat and having that more personal connection with some of the viewers. So there was a chunk from Elder Scrolls that stuck with me, and then a chunk with For Honor that came back with me to Elder Scrolls, and then a small chunk that went with me to Fortnite. But it was enough. Like, it was just enough. Like, getting those 100 people, 150 people to watch me play Fortnite was just enough to where I said, okay, 100 people, during my regular streaming hours puts me like 20, 20 rows down the list on Fortnite. That's not enough. Not enough people are scrolling down that far.
Sure.
But then I thought 100 people at 5 a.m. gets me on the fourth row. And that's when in December, I made a decision to start waking up at 5 a.m. and start streaming like by 6 at the latest. And with those 100 people that were watching at any given time. But at 5 a.m. it was better 100 because that put me up on the list and people started, trickling in. And then finally I started seeing some growth because the first couple months of Fortnite, I think I gained like 40 new followers after a month of streaming. But then when I started doing the 5 a.m. schedule, I was gaining, 20, 30 followers per day. And I was like, okay, this is actually something I can work with.
And was that like, did you start playing Fortnite right when it came out and you just like saw what was going on, you liked it? Or was it, you kind of tried it later? When did you start playing it?
I started playing it and then I was like, man, this building stuff sucks. I hate that people build. Funny enough, that became my favorite aspect of the game, but I started playing it right when it came out. Someone suggested it. It's a new game. It's cool. Battle Royale. It's right. It's kind of what was high at the time.
What was it? The Battle Royale that kind of triggered it? Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't play the Save the World version of it.
Right.
I saw it. It didn't really look interesting to me, but yes, Battle Royale. Started playing it. I sucked at it because naturally, I was always bad at Battle Royales. I played H1Z1, played PUBG. I sucked at them. It wasn't like my tempo. I was very much like always methodical when I'm playing, even today. And then the building kind of gave me the option to slow down the pace and play my play style, which I played in For Honor and played in Elder Scrolls, which is more methodical, thought out play style, which I couldn't do on PUBG or H1Z1 because that's very fast paced. Someone's shooting you, you can't turn around and build a wall. Like, you have to start shooting back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that happened and I got into it, but then I kind of was like, oh man, like that conscious was telling me, okay, dude, you're losing your viewers, you're losing your Elder Scrolls audience, your sub count's dropping. This was like my worst month of streaming ever in terms of just looking at the numbers. And I was like getting a little nervous, but I was like, nah, I got to do something. So that's when I changed to the 5 a.m. schedule. And when I started seeing like some growth there, I was like, yes, I can do this. I can make this happen. And the explosion didn't really happen until the Trap Tower clip, like the famous viral Trap Tower clip happened.
I mean, talk me through that a bit. So you're doing a bunch of content on it. Obviously, you're gaining some traction by moving your stream to earlier. Or is it that you're doing videos alongside of all of this still?
So we started doing videos. We were uploading Fortnite videos. None of them were doing well, but we uploaded one video early on when somebody in the chat was like, at this point I was pretty good at the game. I had been playing for a month and I was, better than most of the average players. And someone was like, how do you win a game? That was the question. They donated $5. They're like, how do you win a game? I'm like, listen, while I was gliding down, I decided, you know what? I'm just going to say out loud what I'm thinking, what I'm doing during this whole match.
Yeah.
I finished the whole match saying everything out loud, win the match. Everyone was like, dude, that was great. You should do that more often. So I'm like, let's just make that a YouTube video. So we just cut that part from the stream, upload it as a YouTube video. And that video was the first video on my channel of Fortnite that did really well. And it was the first video to hit 100,000 views on Fortnite. And even my Elder Scrolls videos weren't really even reaching those numbers. At this point, I think I had 70 or 80,000 subscribers on YouTube and then 70 or 80,000 followers on Twitch. But all those followers were Elder Scrolls and For Honor, not Fortnite.
Right.
But that's what started, that's what flipped things. But the Trap Tower was actually a very, very calculated move in terms of what I was trying to achieve. I was seeing all these streamers, Ninja, doing cool things, trick shots, and these clips would go viral. And I was like, I want to do a viral clip. So I'm thinking, what can I do to stand out? What technique or contraption can I build in the game that would potentially go viral if I pulled it off? And they added the launch pad, and I was like, okay, launch pad, traps. What if you launch somebody into a trap? What if you built a tower full of traps and with a launch pad at the bottom and baited people to jumping it? And that is not actually something that is new to me, because in Elder Scrolls Online, you can build houses in the game. And my house had a carpet over a trap hole that when visitors came to the house and they walked over the carpet, they would actually fall to their death. through the carpet. So like this, like, tricky baiting play style, even in PvP on Elder Scrolls and even on For Honor, kind of was there for a while. So like it definitely was inspired by that. I got the clip. I finally pulled it off. It took me like a full day of streaming to pull it off. But when I did, I was so excited, not because I pulled off the clip, but because I knew the potential that what this clip could end up being. And like I tweeted the clip out and I posted it on Instagram, and it didn't get any traction, but like all the other, BCC trolling hit me up and they were like, hey, your clip is awesome. Do we have permission to use it? I'm like, yes. And then like all these other, Facebook pages and everyone was sharing it, and it just like 10, 20, 30, 40 million views. It got posted on like the Fortnite Reddit. It got to the top of the Reddit, and I'm like, yes, this is working. The next day, I go from 100 average viewers. My next day, I peak at 300 on Fortnite. And after that, I was like, dude, this is actually happening. Like, I'm actually making this work. I was so happy. And I'm like, it can't stop there. I need to do more stuff with these traps. I need to do more stuff with the launch pads. So every week I was coming up with like a cool trap kill or a cool launch pad play. And every week I was also coming up with the educational commentary. So like on Twitch, it was like the, trolling the last player, trapping the last player, like pulling off all these crazy like ways and creative ways of killing the last player for that live entertainment value. And then through YouTube, it was all educational stuff. It was like, this is how you play. This is how you edit. This is how you trap. This is how you do this. And both of those were working together side by side to like lead up to where we're at now.
Dude, that is so incredible. And the fact that you had your streams, you had the educational content to supplement with it. Like you had all these things coming together that it feels like, at least it looks like, it was like just a perfect snowball to kind of start going into Fortnite. And so was that just like, you were already pretty committed on Fortnite at that point, but I mean, what did you do after that? Obviously you're doing more traps, more tricks for that. But like, how do you, like you now have even a bigger opportunity. What's your mindset of like, how do I make the most of this? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. So initially I was streaming and then editing the videos, but that wasn't working too well because I wanted to stream more. Right. And I was streaming from 6 a.m. to like 7 or 8 p.m. And then I would start editing the videos after that. And then I talked my wife into quitting her job to start editing the videos. And she did. She was with it. And she was like my co-host on the stream. Like she was never on stream, but she was sitting next to me and she was like switching the songs. Something that was really big is we always played, it's like hot 80s music and people were always in a good mood. And she was the one picking all the music and stuff. But then like when we recorded educational commentary, I'm like, all right, babe, I recorded commentary. She would go and cut the VOD like while I'm live and, make a thumbnail with like, Photoshop and then post it.
Yeah.
And she was the video editor for a long time. She was the one for a few months. She was the one, cutting the videos, posting it while I'm live. And then eventually she decided, okay, we need to build out a team.
Yeah.
And she was like in charge of building out the team, finding an editor, finding an assistant. And until today, we still have the same editor and assistant who help us with all this stuff.
That is, that's exactly, see, because it's like you made a big step there in terms of getting the editor, getting the assistant, getting that. I mean, having your wife. When did your wife start to edit and help with that? Was it like early in Fortnite, or was it even before that?
I think it was right when things started to go up. Like as soon as we started getting 500, 600 average viewers on the stream, and we saw like that big growth happening, and the Trap Tower clip happened. Like the next week, she quit her job and decided like let's do this. Like I'm gonna help you like succeed in this way. And I was really, really blessed to have her there because I think it would have been way more challenging for me to have to build up that side of the stream and that side of the business. So just like putting together a team and having people in charge of stuff, and having her there and her taking that risk to help me achieve this stream was like spectacular, like amazing. And until today, she's very much involved in just every aspect of the streaming and YouTube business.
That is incredible to see that come together and to see you taking advantage of the opportunity of that too. And I think, to me, it sounds like it's from your experience of like going through the paces of, going full time with it, and you keep on investing in yourself. I mean, like, even when you made the first $30 from your content and whatnot, like, do you remember like what you spent it on? Like, was it buying more equipment?
Yeah.
Like, has it always been a reinvestment into what you're doing and creating?
So $30 every month, and eventually it went up to like 40 or 50, and sometimes on good months it was like $100. I would buy my RuneScape membership with it, and eventually I saved up to buy a computer, and then eventually saved up to buy my first like decent graphics card. And I needed one because RuneScape I could run it on anything, but when Elder Scrolls Online came out, that's when I discovered, oh, games actually have graphics like that need good equipment. So I bought like it must have been like a GTX 660. Like it was a long time ago, but like I was spending that money very much on the stream, on the webcam, on the microphone, on everything. And for a long time, everything that I was making, I was like putting it back into the stream.
Yeah. Man, I mean, as you're going through all this, you've learned a lot of lessons, I'm sure. I'm sure you get asked for advice all the time too, but like, if you do have advice for other creators, heck, even for me, man, I could use some advice when needed. But like, what advice do you give to people, or would you give to creators?
My advice is it's a little bit of a few things. The first thing is you need to identify in yourself what your strengths are. Like, it's not that you can't develop strengths over time, but there are just natural strengths that you have. Like, you're a good speaker, you're funny, or you're talented at video games. You have a good, you're witty, or whatever it is in your personality. And sometimes it takes being honest with yourself, like as to what you're good at and what you're not. And that's kind of like a very challenging thing to tell yourself, okay, maybe this is just not my thing, but this other thing I'm really good at. And for me, that was the educational stuff, and a little bit of the just being good at being strategic and theory crafting. Like those were my strengths for a long time, even in school. And I was able to turn that into my gaming profession. The second thing is, when you're uploading content or making content, you got to be willing to watch your own content and be entertained by it. I was watching a lot of my videos when I posted them. Like, I would edit the video and then I would watch it and be like, is this something that like I'm proud of? Is this something that like I would be entertained? And I would watch the video and I would smile at the times that I'm making a joke, and be like, okay, it's a little weird to watch yourself play it, but you get used to it, and you start identifying what you're doing well and what you're not doing well, and you adjust. But the type of content you're posting also has to be somewhat unique. Find something that's missing in whatever game or genre you're playing. It doesn't have to be completely missing, but something that people are looking for, people are searching for, but there's not a lot of it. And make that content if that's something that you can do. When Fortnite first came out, the most searched thing on Fortnite was how to win. So that's why I named my How to Win series How to Win. It was very simple. Everyone's searching for one thing. And I looked at those videos of people posting the educational stuff, and I'm like, wait, these guys aren't doing it right. These tips are lame. They're basic. They're not going to help these people win. I mean, sure, maybe it's like a basic fundamental. Okay, this is how you pickaxe and get materials, but these people want to know how to win. So I started making the more advanced How to Win series, and that blew up because people were looking for that. So you got to be able to identify what people are looking for and see that if you have the strengths to fill that role and create content that people are searching for.
Dude, I love that. That is so well put together.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, your educational, I think it stands out even just in what you're saying here, honestly. But I want to wrap it up there. Before though, like, is there anything else that you're working towards, or like if people want to find you, where do they go?
So everywhere, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at SypherPK. We managed to get that name everywhere, thankfully.
Nice.
And something that we are working towards, or two things that we're working towards in the very near future. One is trying to get my own podcast going and seeing how we can get into that scene.
Yeah.
And the second thing is the dog YouTube channel. We are trying to make a YouTube channel for our three dogs. It's a little ambitious because it's the type of it's like weird. It's content that we have not been in. I mean, we post pictures of our dogs all the time, but creating content for dogs is a little different. So it's an ambitious project, but we're trying to get into that. And
dude,
yeah,
I love it. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm blown away by your story, man. I did not know a lot of this stuff, so it's awesome. I'm really excited to see where you go. 100%. I'm keeping an eye out for a podcast by you or Dog's channel too. I got a lovely dog, and honestly, I love all the dog videos online, so I'd be super down. But
I appreciate it, man.
Thanks for joining in, man. Appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.